Hello, my name is John Sellers. I'm the owner of Martin's Coffee and Bakery in Martin, Tennessee. I want to talk a little bit about the coronavirus and how it has devastated a lot of the businesses in our small town and the surrounding areas inside of Tennessee. Also want to cover what you can do to help alleviate some of the pain that your local businesses are taking during this time, and hopefully some steps that we can take to keep them from permanently closing. And the last thing that I want to cover is a movement that has started in Tennessee that is a collection of business owners, chefs, restaurant workers that have all come together and collectively outlined a plan of action sent to Bill Lee, our governor. That's a little bit of what I want to talk about in this very short, I guess you could call it a PSA from a local business owner in a very small town in West Tennessee. Over the past couple of weeks, I've had the opportunity of speaking with several local merchants around our surrounding area. People who have restaurants, retail, clothing stores, you name it. Local small businesses that are the backbone of our economy. We have all been coming together and sharing stories on what our next steps are and what this means for the local economy. In all of my conversations, it's really followed the same pattern. People who own local businesses, they want their community to be safe. No one ever would have the intention on trying to harm their community. It goes against the very motivation and reason why they exist in the first place. Most small businesses in small towns do not have a huge margin. If you're in the restaurant world, those margins are extremely thin. Any deviation from purchasing patterns causes major effects inside of staffing, how much you keep in stock, and so on. Everyone that I've talked to has been dealing with three major, very concerning things. Number one is, what do I do with my staff? Very simply put, if your labor costs more than you're bringing in, then your business will go down in a matter of weeks. Your labor for a lot of people, cannot exceed 30%. So directly from our situation, we have seen labor jump from not just 30, but 30 to 40 to sometimes even to really here recently 50% of that. It takes about 2-3 weeks for you to go negative. In our scenario of $10,000 to $15,000, it goes that fast when you do not watch labor versus sales. The first biggest challenge in all of this is local businesses deciding, how do I take care of the people that I have? Is it better to lay people off for them to have unemployment? Will I ever get them back? How am I supposed to keep the doors open but then pay for the high labor? If I close the doors, then they're going to be out, but I can't afford to pay them. I can't afford to keep people on payroll that are not bringing in any money. For most small businesses, there's not a bailout. There's not a stimulus package. There's not a grant that would allow for small businesses to keep the employees that they love, that are family, that have served their local community inside of that little network, inside of the family that has been built. So the first question is, what do I do with my staff when I can't afford to pay them anymore? The second concern that they have is, how do I close my doors and not permanently go out of business? I've been dealing with some comments. I've been dealing with some people not understanding the really basic truth that if you shut the doors, there's no more expenses. I don't know where the crap that comes from. There's mortgage payments, there's rent payments if you don't own the building. The power still has to be on, the water still has to be on, there's insurance, there's all kinds of other small business loan payments. These expenses do not just stop. So you're trapped inside of a scenario that if you close the doors, then your bills rack up. If you stay open, you're going to have high labor and not be able to pay for it. And you want to keep people on the clock, but at the same time, that's what's going to drown your business faster. People are becoming more afraid, and there's not been a plan. What's been very frustrating for me and for a lot of other people is that when there are announcements by municipalities and government and people in charge, there's not an equal balance of a plan of action for the local economy. What's been extremely frustrating for me and for a lot of other local businesses is when there are public service announcements by municipalities of telling people that we are in absolute quarantine lockdown. There's not a proposed plan immediately and access to funds immediately to pay for disaster unemployment. There are many people, and this is a story that you can read all over, specifically inside of Tennessee, where people are signing up for unemployment, but because they're understaffed and there's not enough infrastructure to handle the new amount of people that are applying, they're not able to get it. And there are such strict parameters on who qualifies for unemployment that many people are not getting unemployment. So disaster relief unemployment, I don't know if that's even a thing, but if they would match or even give 150% of what their pay was during this really hard time, so they wouldn't have to lose their car or their house payment or not be able to pay for their kids. Like, this is a huge thing that people inside of power are saying, okay, lock down everything. But now all those people do not have work, not really having access to unemployment, and their bills are racking up. Some small things are being talked about, but we need action immediately. We cannot just have people talking about it. We have to have the plan now. So forget the small businesses dying out for a minute and think about all the staff members that inevitably are going to have to be laid off. I read a number, and it was like over 250,000 people applied for unemployment in the past couple of days, up 33% across all the United States. That number obviously is going to tax a system that's not built to be able to handle that volume. At the same time, why in the world was that not figured out before we started quarantining people? It's like we're so frantic with trying to give people updates and hurry it up and like go, 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 that we're not thinking about the permanent effect that it's going to have on the economy. That's one of the things that's been extremely frustrating. Wondering about staff and then dealing with almost a stigma of staying open for public health. It's not about making money. It's not about making money. Obviously, we start things to be able to like grow the local economy and to give back to the local economy. And yes, there's a kickback. But if it was all about money, I don't think there would be a lot of small businesses that would be in small towns. This is about a service. And yes, there is a talk and there is a shared concern about how to greater serve our local communities. Does that mean closing our dining room? Does that mean making these extreme stances of like closing the store completely? And that's a conversation that has a ton of independent opinions. One thing that I have really been bothered by is businesses that take the like moral, quote unquote, like moral high ground, making statements like, "Oh, if this is all about money, and we really care about public health in our local community so much more than making money," which is why we're making the decision to shut our doors. I think that's so much bull crap when people say that. And when businesses take that and take those shots, it really shows a disconnect. It really shows how disconnected these people are and how they are not small business at all. They're funded by, I don't know how they're funded. And that's great that they're funded that way. I'm just saying that like taking a moral high ground and being extremely insensitive to people who are not inside of that situation. It's just anti-community because a small business relies enormously on the local community to support them. I've always believed that people are loyal to the value that they are given. And when the value goes away, then the loyalty goes away. That's why many people are patrons of many small businesses in their local town, not just one. And in this time, that has to be asked of people in this very scared time. People, if they do not support, and if the government and municipalities does not show support and build an infrastructure that can give out relief aid to small businesses, then they're just not going to exist. Because of the lack of infrastructure and the speed of which to cause a mass hysteria and scare about a virus, to immediately quarantine without any action for building the local economy, only talk about it, that is what's going to crush this local economy and create a lasting effect that will permanently damage millions of lives. I do not understand how that has been prioritized. I feel like there's an enormous amount of very intelligent business minds that could have put together a proper plan in this. And a lot of that is what this movement that started in Tennessee is. I just wish that they would have been communicated with. And when we cause mass hysteria and shut down everything, that there could also be a plan to curb the absolute side effect of shut down quarantine. Once again, I think you should respect what you don't know, and we don't know the true effects of this. I'm so frustrated as a small business owner. I'm so frustrated and the lack of preparedness inside of these statements, because there could have been a brief pause and then an immediate plan. I'm not doubting the effectiveness and the competence of people to be able to design plans and enact them. I'm just wondering why this happened in the way that it did, and how fast that it happened, and how people were just so quick. The media is so quick to just say, quarantine everything, everything's locked down, everyone's getting infected, and it's 10 times worse than the flu. Once again, I'm trying to express that I respect that, and I want to do what's best for my community. I want to do what's best for the people here. And if it comes to that, then we will, obey the law and mandates that come in, and we will respect that. I'm proposing the question: why did you not take in a little bit more time to give a plan of action for the lasting effects of an economy that's going to be permanently damaged? To that note, and I'm trying not to be too negative, I'm just being as transparent as I could possibly can with you. This has been one of the most trying times as a small business owner. Yesterday, that was March 19th, I was in my small town talking to as many people as I could that were locally affected by this. And there is this overwhelming apprehension and fear that grows to a frustration. And then we're so concerned with the general public, but then we want to survive to be able to give the value that we give that makes the town what it is in the future and things to come. And it's just been very frustrating. And I was really encouraged to see this movement pop up. It's called Action for Hospitality. We have them all over Instagram and have tagged them. It's a message to Governor Lee. I'm going to post this inside of the end of this little video. It outlines how we can get through a pandemic and not completely crush the local economy. And I'm not going to read the whole thing on here, but I'm going to give a link to it and a few of the main points. And I hope everyone will go and follow this page and sign this petition, and email if you live in Tennessee. Obviously, if you live somewhere else, I'm sure I would hope that other movements like this are going. But I'm going to read this off about a few of the ways that these extremely intelligent people have gotten together and asked for relief from our Governor Lee. Immediate emergency unemployment benefits for all hourly and salaried workers prolonged during this crisis. Ensure 75% pay for unemployment. Eliminate payroll tax immediately. Yes, please. If we eliminated payroll tax, I think that we could get by this. You're paying people, you cut your staff, but when you cut your staff, these people are guaranteed unemployment. When you lower your staff and adapt your business plan, you do, adapt or die, and I believe in that, then you're able to have some relief with that. Support our call for rent and loan abatement for workers in restaurants impacted. In our scenario, we own both buildings because we have 2 mortgages on those buildings, but I know that a lot of our employees are increasingly becoming concerned with their own rent. Requiring insurance companies to cover loss of revenue. Yeah, I've been on the phone with my insurance company, and I've been calling as many as I can, and there's no coverage for any of this. They said maybe if it was if everyone came in the shop and raided the shop, then we could give you something, but that's not going to do anything. Insurance companies in a time like this, I mean, this is massive, terrible times when this is an absolute loss of sales and waste and spoilage. It would be great if insurance agencies could cover that. Abating sales tax. Yeah, we just paid abate sales tax and LBD tax payments for the next 3 months. We have paid over $15,000 the past couple of months for our own sales tax. Now that we've hit this very bad pandemic and hard times, our sales are dropping nearly 50%, even after we've had to make extreme adjustments to our menu and our business model plan throughout this really hard time. But if you could imagine having access to another $15,000, that would literally put money back into the bank. That would give you 2 months of life, literally back. I would go as far as saying as to refund sales tax for this whole time period starting in February. People started getting scared around February. A cash stimulus package. Yeah, there's a lot of loans going around, really low interest loans. But a loan has to be paid back. Obviously, it's a loan. And so credit card companies booming, cash advance places I'm sure are booming. They're so predatory, those advanced financial extremely predatory, are I'm sure booming right now. And the thing is like loans are not the answer to it, but a stimulus package that are just showing straight investment that does not have to be paid back would save local businesses and by default local economies because they're employing people. Loosening restrictions on alcohol sales. That's great. People got to get through the day. I don't have any alcohol in my shop, but I know in Nashville they have closed down all bars. I don't see how you expect anyone to survive if they can't even serve in their own business. This is a vital moment for all, and it goes on. This letter goes on. It's very well written, and it gets into it. This is a Tennessee Action for Hospitality, and I think it's really important to listen to that and to share that, especially in this time. That's it for me, guys. I just wanted to outline a few of those things. I really appreciate you listening to this and hopefully considering a few of the things that I had to say as a small business owner that's being affected by this pandemic. I feel like we can get through this, but it's going to take some real action of all of us coming together in a digital way. Social distance yourself, of course, but this is it's very serious, and it's going to be lasting a very long time. And even if the virus somehow dies tomorrow, there's a 6-month battle ahead for the local economies and the industries that are there, and we absolutely need help. Bail out those airlines, $50 billion. That's great. That's fine. That's infrastructure that we need for business, but you need to do the same thing for restaurants and people who need to get back to work and need help through this time. But okay, guys, thanks for listening. I'll see you guys in the next one. We have a podcast called Act Natural. You can check that out. Our local business is Martin's Coffee and Bakery. Check that out, and would really appreciate your support during this time. If you live afar, support your local businesses, and let's get through this. Okay. Bye.